And in a weird way, I think the T-shirts, to me, nearly are more important than anything else. Everyone always asks, because I wear mine going out on runs all year round, and everyone always asks, what's the T-shirt? What's FSN? That's Finglas Suicide Network. Where are they? And, you know, you can kind of get talking about it.
The likes of Fred he sort of gold sealed it. He has people now, I meet people now and they say, oh, aren't you involved with the FSN? You think, how did you know? Oh, we go to Fred Fitt's club. So you think, great, people are talking about mental health now and they're looking at it from a wellness point of view. And like I said, that's something, that's a big change. And I suppose for me, for somebody who has had a mental health issue and was always searching for a purpose, when I listened to him speak about what kept him safe and why he was involved in mental health support in the community, I thought, I have to do it. It must have been terrifying for him to have this person that he had, he had 2 children with, and all of a sudden I turned into this, I don't even know if the word was monster, because I was so intolerant to life. And it was so hard that getting up in the morning just became intolerable and just wasn't worth it anymore. And I pretended that, life and family holidays and Christmas, we're coming towards Christmas, was great when I was dead inside.
Hello, my name is Exile. You are listening to the podcast of Partners in Positivity, the place for deep conversations. So have a goosebumps.
Welcome to the Partners in Positivity podcast with Aisling Burnett and myself, Sarah Harty. Today in the podcast, we are joined by 2 inspiring people from the community of Finglas, Dublin. We've Fred, the owner of Fitt Conditioning Finglas, here with us, who is a past guest. If you want to learn more about Fred, you can tune into episode 29 called Getting Fit with Fred. In his true nature as a community champion, he's linked us up with our other guest who we've just met today. A while back, Fred reached out to us to see would we do an episode to raise awareness on FSN, which is Finglas Support and Suicide Prevention Network. And sitting here before us is a woman with a wealth of understanding, awareness and education on mental health. Her name is Sandra Dillon, and it is truly our honour to be here with you both. For anyone listening that may be triggered by discussion on suicide or mental health illnesses, before you listen, please consider what you need in this moment, and if listening would help or hinder you. Our objective is a positive one, and it is shed light on an existing mental health service and share Sandra's voice of hope for those who need it. Welcome, Fred. Welcome, Sandra. Fred, can we start with you and how you first found out about FSN?
Yeah, so actually how I first heard of it was when another friend of mine from the area, Aaron Murray, done a run in aid of FSN. And I remember seeing it on Facebook or Instagram, and that's what struck me first of all, was that there was a counselling service, Finglas Suicide Network in the area, and the gym at that stage obviously had been open a couple of years, and I'd never heard of it. Never been mentioned once by a member or anyone, so that's what kind of struck me. And it was during COVID as well, and I think we all knew how massive people's mental health was affected during COVID. So yeah, that's what kind of struck me, was that I'd never heard of it, and a lot of people didn't hear of it. So I suppose that's what kind of motivated me to get involved with the organising the charity run, was as much to raise awareness for the counselling service for FSN, as well as actually raising funds for the charity. How it came about, actually, when I heard about it, I kind of started to grow in my mind about organising an event. I had no event planned. It was just one day, we'll do something, because we've done loads of stuff over the years, football tournaments and charity boot camps. We done loads of different charity kind of events, but we had started the running club as well as other things during COVID. And we're doing different routes. Now, they're all short kind of 5k routes, 10k routes, and we finished up one night on a Tuesday or Thursday night when we were doing the run. Everyone's going up like different route suggestions. Oh, we should run out here, everyone's for sort of little 5 kilometre runs, 10 kilometre runs, and I just threw it out there. We should run out the finish the run, going up the summit, up the hill. I think I'd only have to been out there, but I was on a drive or something like that, and it was in my head, and they all thought I was mad that we were going to run up that hill in particular, but also run from Finglas, and it just kind of grew from there, and we put it in place for a couple of weeks, organising it. And really the first one was just a couple of gym members that went out on the run. And we got sponsor cards and we went around. And we ended up raising 13,500 the first year, which was amazing. The second year then, I did set more of a goal to add participants to it, because I knew that more participants would be more awareness, obviously more funds would be raised as well. But I think the big thing was the awareness, and we went down for the T-shirts, which as well I thought was a big thing. And in a weird way, I think the T-shirts to me nearly are more important than anything else. And that's why this year went the bright orange ones, FSNs across the front of them, because everyone always asks, because I wear mine going out on runs all year round. It's not just on the day to run. Everyone always asks, what's the T-shirt? What's FSN? And then that kind of builds that as Finglas Suicide Network. Wear a day, and you can kind of get talking about it. And everyone, there's 450 T-shirts were got this year, and everyone got a T-shirt. That was kind of an instruction: wear it on the day, but wear it before the run, wear it after the run. And you still see them now. Probably now November, still November. We still see the orange T-shirts going around. You can see them a mile away. But people always ask what the T-shirts are. So I think that was a big thing. But yeah, this year anyway, we went from, I think it was 75. We don't know the exact numbers. The very first run was 75, and then this year being the third year was 450 people signed up. Yeah.
And Fred, when you say a run, what do you mean? Is it a half marathon? Is it a marathon?
Yeah, so it's a 21-kilometre route, which is amazing because, as I said, it was just an idea in my head to run from Finglas to Howth Summit, but it works out bang from here to Howth Summit works out bang on half a marathon. So it was just mad the way that thing. Like, people think that I organised all this vastly, but it didn't. A lot of it was a fluke, and it just went from there, and. As I said, we always call it a run, but it's not just a run; it's a walk as well. And we actually had loads of people cycling as well this year, which was great. So we had a group that went out early on the walk, and then we had a group that ran, and we had a group that came behind cycling. But the group that came behind cycling were great. They were the bull setters. Were you on the bike?
I was cycling too, yeah. Thanks for that, Fred. And I just want to say that by setting that in place with the running club as well, I really feel like you gave people a goal for something to train for.
Yeah.
Because people were, first of all, like running their first 5K, then they might have achieved their first 10K, and then they were like, oh my God, there's going to be a big group half marathon. Maybe I can do it. Like, so there was a training program put in place, and so many people achieved things that they never thought they would. Me included, not this year, but last year, ran the first half marathon. I think I posted on Instagram that I was doing a bit of running, and people from the gym then start commenting saying, do the half marathon with us. And I was like, no, I'd never be able to do that. But anyway, I continued training and then was able to do it. So yeah, I would have never probably done that only for that. And then this year, yeah, the cycle was a good option because I didn't actually feel fit enough to run it. But it's great to see that it's all levels as well, like walking, running and cycling.
Yeah, and it definitely is kind of, I suppose, snowballing like that as well. Now that we started training in March, and people are nearly now like building themselves up with that goal. People that didn't run it the last 3 years, okay, that's my big goal for this year now, is to run the half marathon. But like Aisling said there, we have obviously the walking group, we have the cycling group, so if people don't feel like they're ready to run and they just want to walk, or people might have an injury of some sort, there's an option there to do it. And obviously the walk is very tough. I actually said I thought it was a tougher walk this year than run because of the conditions we got. It was rain. People were literally like a 5-hour walk in torrential rain. Like, it was unbelievable. But yeah, it's almost kind of wrote now on the calendar for people. We start training in March, and then it goes all the way on to July. So it's nearly a 12-week period where it gives people a focus, kind of nearly outside of the gym, and that they really can focus on their running and stuff like that. And everyone meets up on a group on Tuesday and Thursday and a Saturday morning for the longer run. It builds from there. So it's a great thing that we have going.
It's a win-win-win. So it's raising the funds for FSN. getting people fitter and healthier, which is actually helping with people's mental health.
But it's great. It's getting people talking about it. And I think that's the big thing that, like you said at the start, people don't know about the FSN or other, counselling services or other support services. So the likes of Fred has actually, he sort of gold sealed it. He has people now, I meet people now and they say, oh, aren't you involved with the FSN? You think, how did you know? Oh, we go to Fred Fitt Club. So you think, great, people are talking about mental health now and they're looking at it from a wellness point of view. And like I said, that's something, that's a big change, I think, that's happening now, particularly in the last few years, where before we talk about mental health, we were a little bit negative around it. It was like, it was something to go, oh. Now, when we talk about mental health, it's about how empowered we are and what we're going to do and how we can support others. And I think that random act of kindness is just amazing.
Yeah, I think Fred has random act of kindness is covered on a huge scale here in the local community. Sandra, I can't bring you on to speak any further without letting people who are listening know how much you do and the level at which you're involved in FSN. So you're a volunteer, you're a Sea Change ambassador, you're a board member, you're also a recovery facilitator. How did all of these roles come to be for you within FSN?
I suppose FSN, because we're all volunteers, and when you're looking at roles, I suppose for me, it was for where I fit in, because like I said about Fred, he's a community champion. I suppose for me, that was a goal I was looking for. I was looking for that label. Unfortunately, people like Fred take it. So for me to actually go in and say, like, where can I use my skills? How can I share my skills? So I remember meeting the founder of the FSN. It was set up in 2004. And I remember meeting her. I was doing work with Console, who is well gone now, but that'll tell you how old I am. But I was doing facilitation there, and she came up to me and she happened to remark she had seen me in the local area. And she said, I'm with the FSN. And very like what's being said here, I said, what? Who? And she said, we're always looking for board members. But I was so lucky. They were having an AGM, and Tony Bates, who's a fantastic mental health support, but also a journalist with The Independent, was there that night. And I suppose for me, for somebody who has had a mental health issue and was always searching for a purpose, when I listened to him speak about what kept him safe and why he was involved in mental health support in the community, I thought, I have to do it. I have to be there. So I remember signing up on the night and I became a committee member. So from there, it was just, using my own skills. They already had their chair people and their secretaries and all, and I'm not going to presume for a moment I could do any of those jobs well. So basically what I did was I offered my services through what I do as a facilitator, and they were delighted. So I did do a lot of facilitation in places like the FYRC and around the areas in the local schools. I was in Closh de Ida. So that was the kind of thing I did. So from that perspective, they left me on the committee and said, well, okay, she has a purpose, we leave her. But they actually gave me a purpose because I had already been training with Sea Change to become a Sea Change ambassador. And now I could use those skills and I could use that understanding. And from there, I went on to be involved with Aware, and I was working on the support line. So the FSN just seemed to be a suitable match for me.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I was able to give back what I feel I didn't get at the start of my journey. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen now and people don't give back to me every day, because when they share their stories with me, they're giving back to me every day. They're showing the purpose I have and how important it is to have a purpose. But originally, I wouldn't have had that. So I suppose the FSN gave me back that confidence to go and train in other areas. And they did support me in that way. And then when I saw the benefits the local community was receiving, there was nowhere else I wanted to be. It was the FSN.
That's a lovely thing to be able to say about a place. There's nowhere else I want to be. And for anyone listening that actually don't know what the acronym is, what services FSN provides here in Finglas, could you explain that a little bit further first?
Well, the FSN is first and foremost a counselling service. What they do is they're all volunteers. They were set up originally to help and support, like I said, by the founder Marie Whelan, who literally lost her husband to suicide. She was left with 3 beautiful children, and she had to struggle with no support in the community. She ended up going to a local church and meeting with other people like herself who needed support as well, and they were their own support system. So that concept was taken and built on by places like Dublin City Council, by other people in the community like the resource centres and all decided yet they needed somewhere to be. And it was due to Marie's basically diligence and her foresight that they gave them two small little caretaker flats. And that's where the FSN actually is now, still to this day, but that's what was set up. And from then, volunteers has gone in, they've offered their services, they have transformed this whole area, what was probably 2 one-bedroom apartments, into little office space, two counselling rooms, and there is a room down for a lead counsellor who actually has to oversee everything that goes on. And at the moment, we're looking for a lead counsellor. So if there's anybody out there, we can't actually continue services without one. Just put it out there. Yeah. But from that perspective, but it's all community based. We have had over the years, and I'm not going to deny it, people come in and they see this lovely little setting and they think we could privatise this and really make a difference. People in this community can't afford privatisation for counselling. There is so little out there for them. They are struggling with their mental health. Mental health puts such a burden on your finances because you do go off looking, whether it's self-medication, whether it's all these other little techniques that are out there. You're willing to do anything to get rid of this feeling of insecurity, of illness in your body. So you're really left with very little. So to have a voluntary service that is willing to have volunteers, trainee volunteers coming from the local colleges and actually delivering an hour's counselling service for you is vital. It's just something we need. I still say no counselling is better than bad counselling. So if you're not getting good counselling, please look around and look further. The FSN are a crisis service. However, sometimes people come and they shouldn't be in the FSN. They should be either in a step-down service or some other service. And if that's the case, let the FSN advise you and help you on that as well. We've all been down this road. The majority of the volunteers with the FSN have at some time a mental health issue, and just like with Sea Change.
And Sandra, that's a very important point you made. I know we had a chat and discussion about this before we pressed record. What you said was no counselling is better than bad counselling. So for someone that's in an insecure place that has reached out to look for counselling and actually has done a couple of sessions but they're not happy with the counsellor, it mightn't be the best chemistry or they mightn't be getting the advice that they're looking for. What would you advise someone in terms of having that conversation to end that interaction or that relationship, to let go of it? Because I know some people stop because they don't have the ways or means to approach that.
Well, I suppose that's where the FSN should come into play, and other organisations, community voluntary organisations. You should be able to go back to the receptionist and ask to speak to somebody. You should be able to meet somebody which we have all the time, people going in and out. They're there, they're delivering programmes, there to support you. So if you feel it, go home, don't feel it has to be a challenge. Ring up, ask to speak to somebody and explain, I don't think this counsellor is working for me. And then go back and reassess. Maybe sometimes it's a reassessment. Maybe sometimes it's just that chat across the phone that you need. Maybe you don't need to be seeing somebody face to face. We have to be realistic. Some people are very good at what they do and other people have an instinct because they've walked in the shoes. So which one are you going to talk to? Which one do you want to talk to? And that's probably the way you have to look at counselling. But also it's the way you have to look at your issues. If you're going to a doctor or a local professional and they're not coming across with the information you want to hear, go and seek advice. I know it's difficult. I've been there, I wore the T-shirt. And what's difficult is getting that voice. So don't feel you have to come out and put a public display. Because I know I talk about stigma, but stigma is very much when you're ill, you're self-stigmatising yourself. So go ring and ask, is there somebody there that can talk to you, and explain the situation? Because at the end of the day, you're the one that's important. And just like the ad says, you're worth it, you are worth it. So do explore it and talk to somebody that will explore it with you. And if they don't, then talk to the next person. You don't have to see anybody face to face. The likes of Aware that I'm involved in, basically we talk to people over the phone every day. We explore situations. Just as good work done there. So I'm not saying the FSN is the first and foremost. There's loads of counselling services that do tremendous work, but there's also a place for counselling in somebody's life, but there's also a place for other things as well. So as much as I'm the big, fan outside the FSN saying, try all these things, I'm still very aware that there is times depending on the severity or the lack of severity of your mental health issue, that you can try other things as well. And I always say be open.
That's beautiful. And what I seen on the website earlier today when I was having a quick peek myself was something very simple. And I love simple language, especially when we're talking in terms of mental health. And it was, would talking to someone help? That was one of the taglines or one of the messages, let's say, on the website. Would talking to someone help? So for people who have friends or family members that look like they're spiraling or they're down in themselves or they're feeling insecure, do you think that's a sentence that we should keep in mind to lead them on to a service like yourselves?
Very, very much. And you know, first and foremost, the most important person is the person that's close to you. If that's your family member, yes, please seek help and support. However, we do have to realise indirectly, mental health can affect your family members. So we're always saying when somebody rings, particularly about somebody else, we will say, can we help you as well? Would you like to talk? And they'll always say, oh no, I'm ringing up for my son or my brother or my sister or my mum. And you say, yeah, but what about you? Who's looking after you? Would you like to go on the list? Would you like to be assessed? And we're not saying because we're assessing you, there's something wrong with you. It's literally to see where you are at this moment in time. So when you're assessed, it's to see where the right support system can go in place. Not we're looking to say like, oh, she's worse than Ellen sitting beside her, or Fred over there looks like a bit, you know, like he could do with a bit more counselling. It's nothing to do with any of that. It's literally to see, is there a counsellor here that would be more suitable? But we don't always get it right. So indirectly, if a parent is ringing up, if a family member, we always try to ask them as well, would you like support as well? Because when you make it a whole unit, I think you have a better chance of winning. And when I mean winning the battle with mental health, because it is a battle and it is a challenge. And to get back into recovery like I am now, and like I said, I've had triggers maybe in the last few weeks that has triggered me off as well, that I start to get concerned again. But now I'm aware of it. So if we can make family members aware, if we can make the individual aware, well, then I think we're halfway there.
Yeah. And another thing you wanted to make people aware of was the obligation of the HSE in terms of the number of counselling services that they must provide.
Well, the
wasn't it?
HSE do run a national counselling service. It's in their primary care. And they are obligated to actually give 8 sessions to somebody with a mental health issue. Now, their number is 1-800-700-700. And I'm asking people, if you can't get into places like the FSN or you feel like you're on a waiting list, ring the HSE or ask your doctor to refer you. Your doctor has a referral. He can refer you on, and it's free of charge. Because the biggest issue, I suppose, with mental health is cost. And I'm going to be honest, mental health can be a big business in some organisations. It shouldn't be. Nobody should have to pay for something with your mental health because it's so random. You can be so well one day and you can be literally after losing your whole life the next day. Plus, it's so financially a strain on the family. So if it is free, access, and always look at access. And I think with the FSN, the whole idea will always be to keep it that people can afford it. If you're unemployed, you won't pay more than €5 to €7. If you're in employment, and remember, a lot of people are on minimum wage here in this locality, so a lot wouldn't be able to afford much more than €15. That's a promise we'll make. And okay, we will fight the red tapes through it because, yes, we're being told, oh, you're not being realistic, you're not putting value on the service. The value is the person coming through the door. That to me is validation. And that's what volunteers look on as validation. Nobody apart from a lead counsellor or administration in the FSN are paid. We have TUS workers, we have C workers, and we will continue to do that. Yes, it would be easy with the help of Fred and others to say, oh, let's make this a big multinational company. We could all be millionaires. I'm glad nobody became a millionaire on my back and my mental health. So why would I impose that on anybody else?
Very well said. One thing that struck me, and I don't know if this is still the case with FSN at the moment, but when Fred reached out to Ash, and Ash told me about FSN, because I'm from Laois and I don't know what's going on here in Finglas, but every community deserves to be served in this way. And what they said was that it's a very respectful service in that for people that want to be anonymous or want to come into you, there actually is a back door into the service that they don't have to, it's not on the main street of a town, let's say.
No,
Is
we're actually tucked away we're actually tucked away in a little complex. It's an old folks complex. And I have to say, a lot of the old folks will come down and they bring us down stuff and all, and they do our garden outside, and we have a little garden. And what we have is you access one door and you leave by another door. And unfortunately, that's because stigma is still so active, and not only in the Dublin Northwest area, but all over Ireland. Like, to be realistic, and it's not a certain age, it's still there. We can pretend that we have moved on and we've all become metropolitan, you know, and none of us race anyone. We want to meet loads of people with mental health issues, but realistically, no, that's not the case. I wish it was. And like I said, in my day was, I have to say, and like I said, I just know I'm as old as Methuselah here. So in my day it was worse, but if I could get, but I still think, like I said, if we can all work on that whole concept around like stigma reduction, about maybe then the people with mental health will stop stigmatizing themselves.
And where do we begin with that? Like, I love what you say, we should all be aiming to work on reducing stigma. What's our work, let's say, day to day here?
Well, I suppose, I mean, from my perspective as a Sea Change ambassador, I wear a green ribbon.
Lovely.
And I go around the company, Unity, and I think, Fred, I think I met you when you were going around, and I had the big boxes and I was giving everyone a green ribbon as well. And I'm a firm believer, I would love St. Patrick's Day to be green ribbons from top of O'Connell Street to the bottom. So, but that's just my personal opinion. But from that perspective, it's really about just listening to somebody and being, if you don't understand, ask. Like when I meet somebody, we say with bipolar, there's 3 forms of bipolar. Ask, you know, what can I do to help? What is there a type? And maybe by listening, and that's what the FSN do best. They listen. They don't judge. There's no judgment. They don't tell you what to do. Because in counselling, really, you shouldn't be telling anyone what to do. You should help them explore their options. Mm-hmm. You should help them to be aware there are options, but you should also make them look at their own choice. And whatever that choice is, help them through that. And if that gets them into recovery, then our next job is to keep them in recovery. And how do you do that? By supporting them in their community, by letting them be part of it, by listening to what they have to say. That's what gave me my purpose back. It's hard to believe, I'm sure you're saying to yourself sitting there, that, you know, the way she's speaking all the time. But really, a lot of this has to do with, for many, many years, I had no voice. And now when I look at my children growing up, I want them to have a voice. I want them to tell people what it was like to live with their mother. You know, and if good or bad, now I'm hoping it'll be all good. I'm warning them, it better be all good.
This is your official warning.
And it's coming across the airwaves. But listen, at the end of the day, and like I said to Fred when I came in earlier, I mean, a programme that Fred could deliver will be to, and I know the young generation use this word, cool. And, you know, why don't we make mental health? I'm not saying there isn't a certain cohort in mental health will never be able to go into recovery. They'll never be able to experience, you know, a better life. So we really should be setting aside funding and support systems for them. And we should be watching it. But for those that can go into recovery, let's make them ambassadors of mental health. And let someone like Fred, who, like I said, is already a community champion, let's make him an ambassador, and let's get into fitness and see what it can do and how it can make our young people cool, but also make our old people, like this old granny here, cool. You know, if I come up and I do me Pilates here with Fred, all of a sudden, nobody's looking at my badge, my green ribbon badge, because they're all wearing them. So who cares? And everyone's like, oh, and I always look at that as a sign of strength. If I'm walking somewhere and I see someone with a green badge, it's just a smile. It's a look I give them and they give it back, and it's like, 2 of us here, that's good. You know, and that's the way it should be. I shouldn't be looking and saying, green ribbon, what does that mean? I should be looking and saying, thumbs up, green ribbon.
And you know what, you've given me so much more perspective on what the green ribbon is. Would you believe I actually was doing some design work for World Mental Health Day, and I was actually searching for the green ribbon on Google or on Canva. Yeah. And then copying and pasting it in for a positive quote. And here I was not knowing what actually the green ribbon meant. I obviously knew it represented Mental Health Day, and we do a lot of work between the podcast and our hiking community and all this to help people feel better on a day-to-day basis. But I didn't understand until now the depth of the meaning of that, of what that the ribbon actually is sea change, and there's people like yourselves as ambassadors doing this kind of work. So I'm delighted to be in the seat listening to you.
And you know, the funny thing is, like I said, for me, sea change gave me back my voice. I was able to go on then and help my son develop his voice, like I said, with his disability. And FSM was able to support him through his school years. Now, and I mean from 18, because unfortunately we can't take any, under 18. But the difference it made in my life, I was able to understand and see change as part of Shine. And Shine is a major mental health organisation. It's as big as Mental Health Ireland. People don't seem to know about either. And they run vast amount of support systems and courses to help people with mental health issues, particularly those who have been diagnosed with bipolar or schizophrenia. So these are all free to access. Why are we not posting it on, Fred, why are you not posting this on the wall here? I'm really asking the question. I'll be up here tomorrow. I'll be up tomorrow, Fred. And you'll be out there, big box, and you'll say, oh, that little granny was up at the box. They'll be sick looking at me now. But, why are we not posting them? Everybody, I don't know whether it's, and like I said, this is the person thing for me, but with mental health, we seem to like to put people in boxes. So if you've got a certain disability or a certain mental health issue, we'll put you over in such a box. But none of them will ever meet. None of the twain will ever come together. So that's what we do. And by doing that, we're isolating them. We're putting them in silos. So let's stop doing that. Let's just jump back in, like Fred did for that big walk and the big marathon. Jump in, cycle, walk, do what you like, and that will get rid of stigma. Now, we'll never eliminate stigma because, we'll actually miss it if it was gone, I have to be honest. I think there'll be always a granny behind the window that needs to look out and look at something. And so what would you talk about across the wall? Helps her mental health? Off you go. But, the general society, our community, we're a beacon of light. The people here are so amazing. So let's shine a beacon of light and let's do, maybe that's something we can do next year, Fred. Maybe we can do a sea change run and put our beacon of light, but do it at night. So our green ribbons will reflect and we'll all put a little light on it. Now, there you go. There's a plan.
All I'm sitting here thinking, if there was an audience, we'd be like, give this woman a round of applause.
Here, send her home. Her Bovril is on the bus. I noticed that we say, what's Bovril? I never heard the Bovril.
No, I'm very serious. We sat down here today for you to share what FSN does and the broader network of supports around mental health and your experience, your knowledge, and all the services that you offer and dedicate to yourself is tremendous. I'm really in awe of you.
But you know what it is? It's actually self-preservation. When you have the knowledge, when you have the understanding, then you'll stay in recovery. And I think Aisling said to me, is it like being an alcoholic? Yes, I'm proud to say, yeah, it is. Because for me, if something triggers me, I go back into that place I don't want to be in. And it's a horrible place to be. And anyone that's had a mental health issue that has gone through it will say to you, like, it's not a nice place. It's not a nice feeling. And like I said, even when I talk about it, like I said, the students and all, I talk about that pain on my side, the left side, they'll often come up if they're doing exams and I'll say, I have that pain now. And I can resonate then. All of a sudden we have a bond. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, we should be sharing our bonds and we should be getting honest with each other. But to go away and take anything from this, it's all about just listen. Mm-hmm. Use your listening ear. And because for me, the person that listened to me was Nullick Bourne. And, Professor, she was amazing. And when she listened to me, I was starting the first step onto the recovery. So it was more than 9 steps, unfortunately, but I started it. And she actually gave me a purpose again. She acknowledged and actually validated my existence. Mm. And that was more important than anyone else had ever done. Family members, and people are kind. It's not that my family went out of their way to hurt me. They didn't understand the depths of the pain I was in. And that was no one's fault. I mean, my own husband thought, most women, when they become pregnant and they have babies, they turn into this different person. So that's who he thought I was. And that's okay too. At the time, I have to be honest, I was looking for a gun. And I said, men can't live with them, but we certainly can't live without them. But this one, I don't know, I'm wondering. So basically, there was a lot of that there. But, I now can understand, it must have been terrifying for him to have this person that he had, he had 2 children with, and all of a sudden I turned into this, I don't even know if the word was monster, because I was so intolerant to life. And it was so hard that getting up in the morning just became intolerable and just wasn't worth it anymore. And I pretended that, life and family holidays and Christmas, we're coming towards Christmas, was great when I was dead inside.
And sorry, Sandra, just to stop you there, because we did have a great chat, and I'm amazed and delighted that someone in your position is so open to share what you struggled with your own mental health challenges. For your first encounter with that was around postnatal depression.
Postnatal
was
depression.
it?
Yeah. Postnatal depression, and that's why I suppose in Sea Change I'm a big ambassador for that as well. Literally what happened to me, I was working, I was doing well, managing, everything was going great, probably tormenting a lot of people. They used to say she was an old cranky cow, she's an old boss, but it was great and it was in a great place. And then after the first 4 years of marriage, I had my first child. Now, it had taken 4 years, so I naively probably thought in my stupidity that it'd take another 4 years for another one. But within 5 months, I was expecting again. The first 5 months was quite hard. I couldn't focus, I couldn't get things together. I used to pretend I was coming home and I was actually only going out in the middle of the night because my husband used to work away, so it was only myself and my little boy. And then within 5 months I was expecting, and I seemed to be great. All of a sudden I became back to myself. I was superwoman. Everything was back again. I had my little girl then, 6 months later, and things were a little bit foggy, but I'd still got a bit of time, and then bang. When she was 8 months, it really, really got bad. I found I just couldn't cope. I wasn't doing well. I was so fearful. I was so fearful that something was going to happen to them. I knew well I wasn't a fit mother. I didn't know why anyone would give me 2 children. I constantly went around. I was firefighting. I just seemed to be, it's like as if somebody offered to help me, I felt like there was something on my forehead they could see and they knew I wasn't coping. So I would try extra hard to prove to them I'm able for it. No, you don't need to do that. I can do that. So I can't blame anybody. It was my mental health issue. However, it got so bad. People started to remark I wasn't the same person. I was a horrible person. Because I was being dismissive. I was trying to push them away. And I spent a lot of time pushing people away. And I went on a family holiday and it just didn't work out. As in, I felt fault with everything they did. I was very agitated. I was very upset. To the extent that I was, and I would well say now I was bordering on being rude, because people, if they tried to get close to me, I did everything possible. So if that meant being rude to them or telling them to back off, who do you think you are? And I done that to family members as well. They didn't understand either. They just thought I was being this bitch. So unfortunately, it came to a head. I went and one morning I stripped my own bed and I threatened them no one was going to sleep that night. Like I said, maybe that should have been a red flag. But because of lack of understanding and lack of education, nobody saw that as a red flag. They saw it as that bitch at it again. And they basically were happy to open the door and let me go out with 2 young babies in a pram. And it was just so happened my husband had come back early. He'd been away and he met us. It was actually down the country, and he came down and he inquired to where I was and had been remarked I was gone. Usual, she's gone, last hour. And he just got very nervous and decided to contact the powers that be, who thankfully went looking for me and found me in a beautiful place. I have to say, for me, maybe it was to do with religion. I thought I was in this lovely church and there was lovely feeling and atmosphere there, but seems I was at the side of a lake. So, I'm here to tell the tale. I still say my children grew up in spite of me, but it was then that somebody listened. And I was sent to the matter private, and I went in, and like I said, I'll always thank Nulloch Bourne. She described me as a car crash. Well, a train crash, she said, because I'd been a train crash that seems that morning. And she compared me to the train crash. And she said, so we have to start rehabilitating and rebuilding. And she was so logical in everything she said that it was like as if a light bulb moment had just gone on. But if I was to be honest, I was relieved. I was relieved to not have to go back out that door that day. And even talking about it now, we can see it's sort of, but I was relieved to be able to just shut that door for a minute and say, I don't have to think about this for a minute. I'm just here. I'm safe. And that's what I'm saying about that listening ear. She listened to me. And I remember my husband being very offended when she went out and sort of gave him a four when she said, did you not recognise things were happening to her? And she was changing and all. And he said, I thought all women that had babies went like that. I just thought that was natural. And that's, like I said, that's okay too now. But, just be aware that maybe the next time that a young mother comes and she tells you she's not feeling good or she's snappy with you, just look and say, hang on a minute, and they may not want to give you that baby. Give me that baby and go on and have a rest, or go and do something. Just go for a walk. I'm not telling you to have your hair done. Just go out and have a walk. And that's my daughter, like I said, has had twins. Now, thankfully, we've got over the two-year mark, so I can back down now and give her a bit of peace. But I was very nervous because it is in my family. My sister has suffered from postnatal depression as well. So it is hereditary. But again, I had my third child because of knowledge, because of understanding, and because of education. I was treated like a queen. In fact, too much. They wouldn't let me out of the Rotunda Hospital, to be honest. I was kept there.
Yeah.
They made sure everything was all right because my youngest son was quite ill, and they made sure I was looked after. And I was able to talk to them, and I was able to explain. They kept saying, "Are you sure, Sandra, you're not covering anything up?" And I said, if I look upset, I think it's normal. They said, well, then we know you're okay. But they did keep an eye on me, and they got me through it. And over time, I found my voice. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I'm a Sea Change Ambassador. That's why I scream about mental health services, because I may as well not being here. But I am. And I'll be damned if they're going to silence me now. I'm sorry.
That's actually a beautiful way to end the podcast if we're open to closing it down. When I was listening to you tell that story, you just reminded me, and I was getting emotional myself, because I just recall my aunties or even my mother talking about my granny Harty. When a woman came into the house, like a mother, whether it was my auntie or my mother, she'd always say, you go down to the back room and have a lie down, and then come back up to me when you're rested. And that was kind of a normal thing for her to do. So my granny must have had some awareness of the tiredness, the rest that was needed. And if it was 3 o'clock in the day and you arrived at her door and you had the kids with you in tow, and if you looked tired, she'd say, go down to the room, come back up to me.
And
it's a small thing, but it's an important
thing. We need to bring it back.
Yeah.
We really, really do. Because I know everyone's so busy. And I know, like I said, everyone has all their own issues as well. But you know something? Sometimes somebody just sitting there and having a cup of tea and just listening to you. So I'm all for counselling. I'm all for putting, doing everything. And like I said, if Fred there can get something up and going to get us all back real fit, and I'm like Twiggy. I won't even say for Christmas, I'll settle for Easter. Basically, yes, let's go for it. But you can't pass a cup of tea or a nice somebody being warm and kind and saying, just sit there and have a little rest. And like I said, I'm going to let my daughter go now after 2 years because I think I tormented her enough. Tried to give her rest and tried to rob, like she thought, steal her children. But we don't realise when we're young and we're out there and we're trying to do everything else. Let's let somebody else. I didn't. I have to say, I was to blame for that too. I'm not saying there was other people to blame. I was the one that thought, no, I have to pretend I can do this. I'm Superwoman. You watch, you won't think there's anything wrong with me. That isn't normal. And if you think you're Superwoman, let somebody take the cape.
Okay, actually, I thought of something there, if you don't mind, just in case it might help someone locally that does want to contribute to FSN. For someone that would like to volunteer and help out, what type of roles are there available, or what are the volunteering opportunities?
Well, we're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for people to come. Like I said, whether it's when we're doing events, it's helping out in the office, it's coming in and making a cup of tea for somebody. Sometimes it's just about the numbers that are there and can support. Now, we're also, just to say, looking for board members. So if there's any board members out there that has any experience, please come on board, because the bigger the board, the better chance we have of being able to expand the services. And that's what we really do need, because there is so much. Like I said, when you look at Fred and you see the work he's doing, we should be involved in that. We should be involved in the other organisations, in the community. We should be looking at our young people. We go into the local colleges here, and the stories you hear, and you think, what can we do? Someone like Fred, being able to link in, being able to support. That's why we need volunteers as well. We need them to come onto the board and bring the insight of what they can do and share, because nobody knows it all. Yeah. I'd love to think, like I said, the 5 or 6 that's sitting on the board knows. We don't. Nobody knows it all. So the more people that come on board and say, I'm willing to give my experience, that's what you need. And the community needs you as well. So if you have got 5, 10, 2 hours, please give us a call. We really do need your help. And like I said, particularly board members and those with experience in mental health that can deliver a programme.
Brilliant.
I just want to say thanks so much. That was really insightful, and it's so important for the community. And I love your vision of growth for it, and your passion, and everything you're doing to help and to spread that awareness. It's lovely.
Sandra, thanks so much. I had goosebumps many times throughout listening to you. I am blown away by your openness and sharing your own story and what you've done so far. I always love meeting people like yourself who has that level of determination to reduce something so important like stigma in the community. And I know anyone listening to the podcast, whether it's from Dublin or around the world, are going to benefit from every single thing that you've said, because you don't know what the ripple effect is going to be now in having this conversation. But even someone that's in a different country around the world might take on what you said and set up something similar over there. So thank you so much for sitting down at the table with us and helping to spread the awareness for everyone that uses the service and will continue to do over the next decade,
Thanks
century,
for
however long.
I can say,
However long it's
No,
open.
well, hopefully, like I said, when they open the, what is that we put those things away for 100 years. I'm hoping when they open it in 100 years, people say, what stigma?
Yeah,
So, like I said, no, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
brilliant. Thank you so much. Thanks, Fred. Congratulations. Well done. Pat yourself on the back. You're officially now a partner in positivity with us. Whether this is your first episode or your 44th, we're equally grateful for your ears, for your heart, for taking this time out for yourself and committing to your own positive mental health journey. Our intention for this podcast is for you to feel a little bit better afterwards, so we encourage you to take some time out now to check in with yourself. How did you feel before? How do you feel now? And we've definitely done our job if you feel a little bit better. If you do want to support us, whether it's through donation or coming on some of our hikes, we absolutely welcome it. Once a month we do our P&P Wild hike, and most recently we climbed to the peak of Joust Mountain, and a big shout out to everybody who came on a really wild, wet, windy day in Ireland. We were all soaked by the end of it. There's always a positive chat to be had, an open conversation and a cup of tea afterwards. So feel free to come along if you haven't yet. We also have a Ko-fi donation page. It's ko-fi.com/partners in positivity. We really value the work that we're doing. We know there's so much positive and negative in the world right now, and we want to contribute to people feeling their best. So we hugely appreciate all of the donations we've received so far. Also, if you got something of value from this and you want to share it with friends or family to add to this trend of positivity in the world, we would love to be tagged in any post on social media. You know where to find us. Other than that, guys, have an incredible week ahead, and we look forward to feeding you some more nourishment for that beautiful mind, that beautiful garden of yours in our next episode. Take care.